بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني من نور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We continue our discussion about Hujjiyat Khabar al-Wahid, and after saying that ulama had two opinions, Shaykh Tusi rahmatullah alayhi and mutaakhirin from ulama, they believe in Hujjiyat Khabar al-Wahid. Sayyid Murtada rahmatullah alayhi and Shaykh Mufid and Qazi ibn Barraj and others, they said it's not Hujjah. We want to see what are the arguments for Hujjiyah and discuss. First, arguments based on the Quran. Second, arguments based on Hadith. Third, Ijma'. Fourth, Bina'ul Uqala. Okay? So first, Quran. Second, Hadith. Third, Ijma'. Fourth, Bina'ul Uqala. With respect to the Quran, there are some verses in the Quran that are used by those who believe in Hujjiyat Khabar al-Wahid. The very first and most famous one is Ayatun Naba. Ayatun Naba. This ayah is very famous. You know, some of the verses of the Quran, they have name because of their importance. Normally chapters have name, but some verses also have name. Okay? So Ayatun Naba is one of those famous verses which has a name. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. Surah Al-Hujurat, ayah number 6. It is said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Walid ibn Uqba to collect zakat and alms from Bani al-Mustalaq. When he was approaching Bani al-Mustalaq, they came out and they were happy. They wanted to welcome the messenger or the representative of Islam. But because Walid had a bad history with them, he thought, perhaps he misunderstood, or maybe, I don't know, he even understood anyway, he thought they have come to fight. So he didn't talk to them, he didn't make sure, why they have come out, and went back to the Prophet and said they refused to cooperate. And this could lead to an unnecessary tension and war. An ayah was revealed that if a fasiq, and in this case fasiq is the one that brought this news, if a fasiq brings you a news, don't accept and act upon it. Tabayyanu, you must inquire. We don't say reject it, because even a fasiq can sometimes tell you the truth. Yeah? We don't say reject it. We just say don't accept it easily. Inquire, investigate, because if you don't investigate, there is a chance. And tusibu means Allah tusibu. Yeah? If you don't investigate, then you would possibly fight with a group of people, bijahalat. Jahala here doesn't mean unknowingly, means unwisely, because jahl means not to know, or sometimes means not to act rationally. Yeah, jahl is opposite to ilm or opposite to aql. فَتُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا بِالجَّهَالَ means out of unwise behavior, you may, for example, you may fight a group of people, and then you regret. فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. You become remorseful. Why we have done this? When the truth becomes clear, you would regret. So, this ayah has been used as a proof, as an argument for Hujjiyatul Khabar al-Wahid. Before we explain how the ayah can be used, let us clarify a few things, which I have already made, but I am now reading the book. قبل تقرير الاستدلال. Before we explain, we articulate the argument, نشرح ألفاظ الآية. We explain the terms of ayah. First, التبين يستعمل لازما ومتعديا. Tabayyun in Arabic can be used as transitive and intransitive verb. Tabayyana, many times we use even in Jose textbooks. Tabayyana means it became clear. This is lazim. Sometimes we say tabayyan means make it clear, means investigate. Okay? So it can be lazim, it can be muta'addi. Okay? Here in ayah is used as muta'addi. Okay? التبين يستعمل لازما ومتعديا فعلى الأول فهو بمعنى الظهور. If it is lazim, means it has no maf'ul, yeah? Then it means just to become clear, to emerge. Zuhur. For example, about fasting. حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض كلوا واشربوا حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود. يتبين is lazim here. Means it becomes clear. If you have a white thread and black thread, you can distinguish. Means there is enough of light that you can distinguish. Of course, some people said means white thread and black thread. Some people say it means horizon. In the horizon, you would have a horizontal light. When we have Fajr al-Sadiq, we have a horizontal light that gradually comes up. In most of the places, maybe some places are different, but most of the places. Before that, there is a vertical, which is not acceptable. After that is horizontal. Anyway, tabayyana means become clear. وعلى الثاني, if it is متعدي, فهو بمعنى طلب التثبت, means you should investigate.
It's command.
It can be it can be mazi, muzare. That's not the main issue. The main issue is the meaning of the verb. Otherwise, you can use it in amr or whatever. إذا ضربتم في سبيل الله فتبينوا. Very similar to ayatul naba. Tabayyanu here means investigate. Means inquire for clarity. Yeah? Inquire for clarity. Ayah is telling that when you travel, especially this is for mujahideen, for example, if you meet people, don't judge quickly. Don't assume they are enemies. You must inquire, you must make sure what is the truth. And if some people offer you peace, accept. Because there was an incident that some people said, we are at peace, salam. Then the commander in order to get booties, said they are not honest. And Quran criticizes that. لا تقولوا لمن ألقى إليكم السلام لست مؤمنا. Don't say to someone who offers you peace that you are not a believer. So tabayyanu means to inquire. So this is about tabayyun. The second point, أن تصيبوا قوما بالجهالة. This is the reason for necessity of tabayyun. Why should we inquire? Because if you don't inquire, there is a chance that you may fight with people out of jahala. So, أن تصيبوا قوما بالجهالة علة للتثبت والمقصود خشية means out of the fear, out of the worry that if you don't inquire, it may lead to fighting unwisely, irrationally. And تصيبوا قوما بالجهالة or لألا تصيبوا قوما بالجهالة, the same thing. What is jahala? Al-jahala, number 3. مأخوذة من الجهل وهي الفعل الخارج عن إطار الحكمة والتعقل. Here we mean by jahl an action which does not fall under hikmah. It's outside hikmah, outside rationality. Unwise, irrational. So jahl is opposite to aql here. Okay. After clarifying these 3 points, now let us see what is the argument. You understood the meaning of the ayah, yeah? So what is the argument? Ayatollah Subhani says there are 2 ways to argue from this ayah. Of course, in the end, he doesn't accept any of these 2 ways. But he says, one is to use mafhum al-shart, the other is to use mafhum al-laqab.
2 ways for what, sorry?
To argue from this ayah for validity of khabar wahid. إن جاءكم is جملة شرطية, isn't it? إن جاءكم فاسق بالنبأ فتبين. They say, mafhum of this sentence is that if fasiq does not bring you news, you don't need to inquire. If fasiq brings you news, you should inquire. If this shart is not there, means if fasiq does not bring you news.
A good person brings.
If fasiq doesn't bring you news, means either there is no news, which is salib b'intifa al-mudu, or a righteous person, a just adil person brings you news. Yeah, it can have 2 possibilities, 2 options. If fasiq does not bring you news, it can mean either there is no news or a righteous person has brought you news. They say in both cases, you don't need to investigate. So, khabarul wahid is when a just person has given you news. So they say this means that you don't need to inquire. Okay? أما كيفية الاستدلال فتارة يستدل بمفهوم الشرط, as I explained, وأخرى بمفهوم الوصف. Another time is, no, we are not talking about إن جاءكم. We are talking about فاسق. إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبين. Means إن جاءكم رجل فاسق. Fasiq is laqab. Of course, he says wasf, you can say wasf or you can say laqab. Because wasf is when we have mawsuf. If a fasiq person brings you news, you should inquire. So, if a person who is not fasiq brings you news, then you don't need to inquire. So here the focus is on fasiq, not on jumla shartiyya. Okay? So, taratan, sometimes, يستدل بمفهوم الشرط والأخرى means تارة أخرى بمفهوم الوصف. Okay? So there are two ways to argue from this ayah. To approach it as a kind of mafhum al-shart, implicit meaning for conditional sentence, or implicit meaning for an adjective, like fasiq. وَرُبَمَا يَحْصُلُ الْخَلْطُ بَيْنَهُمَا. Sometimes people get confused between these two. These two are mixed up. يَحْصُلُ الْخَلْطُ بَيْنَهُمَا. What does it mean? They get mixed up.
Mixed up in two.
They don't distinguish between the two. They say, for example, we are using mafhum al-shart, but if you look carefully, they are using mafhum al-wasf. Okay? فَفِي تَغْرِيرِ الْإِسْتِدْلَالِ. Now, in order to distinguish these two, فَفِي تَغْرِيرِ الْإِسْتِدْلَالِ بِمَفْهُومِ الشَّرْطِ. In explaining how to argue from mafhum al-shart, يَنْصَبُّ الْبَحْثُ عَلَى الشَّرْطِ. Discussion focuses on conditional sentence. أي مجيء المخبر بالنبأ إن جاءكم إن لم يجئكم. So the focus is on you receive news or you don't receive news. دون عنوان الفاسق. The focus is not on fasiq. The focus is on إن جاءكم. بخلاف الاستدلال بمفهوم الوصف. Unlike arguing from implicit meaning of adjective. Here the focus is on what? On fasiq. Opposite to adil. Okay? So, if instead of fasiq there was another thing, إن جاءكم فاسقون, إن جاءكم غير فاسق. So the focus is on. Now let us discuss each of them separately. First, mafhum al-shart. I think maybe I just explain it from outside. It's easier, as I said, because it's more than 1.5 page, and I think we don't need to read all of it. I repeat again, it's very easy from outside. First, mafhum al-shart. إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبين. Mafhum is, if we believe in mafhum al-shart here, إن لم يجئكم فاسق بنبأ لا يجب التبين. If fasiq does not bring you news, there is no need for tabayyun. Okay, if fasiq does not bring you, means news is not brought by fasiq. It means that either no news has been brought, or adil has brought news. If no news is brought, لا يجب التبين, because it's salabib intifa al-mawzu. Yes? Like for you remember we said en rozaqta waladan fakhtinhu. We said this type of jumla shartiya has no mafhum, because if you don't have child, if you don't have son, then we don't talk about circumcision. Yes, you remember? So we said any jumla shartiya which is for establishing mawzu does not have mafhum, because without mawzu it's salabib intifa al-mawzu. You remember that, yeah? So if you mean no news has been brought, so this is salabib intifa al-mawzu, has no mafhum. If you mean news is brought but not by fasiq, by adil, then this would be useful for those who want to prove hujjatu khabar wahid. But Ayatollah Subhani says this is not the meaning of mafhum al-shart, because in mafhum al-shart the focus is on what? On جمله شرط إن جاءكم إن لم يجئكم. You are shifting the attention to فاسق. That is not مفهوم الشرط. That is مفهوم اللقب. The question is الفاسق. Please listen carefully. الفاسق إن جاءكم بالنبأ فتبين. الفاسق إن لم يجئكم نبأ لا يأتي تبين. Why? Because there is no issue. No news to inquire. From this, how you can then understand something about another subject? And that is when Adil brings you news. Mafhum and mantuq should be about the same subject. Al-Fasiq in ja'akum bin nabain fatabaynu. Al-Fasiq in lam yaj'akum bin nabain, there is nothing to inquire. Why you are changing mawzu and you are saying Adil if brings you news? It should be the same mawzu with shart or without shart. Not changing mawzu and everything and then talking about adil. So, there is no mafhum shart here. Now we move to mafhum al-wasf. That makes more sense. In ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in. Now instead of fasiq, if there is ghayr fasiq. Okay, this makes sense. But the problem is, we said we don't accept mafhumul wasf. Because we said wasf doesn't have mafhum. Okay? Some people have said, but we said we don't accept mafhumul wasf. Now we move to the next ayah. So, according to Ayatollah Subhani, this ayah doesn't, stand as a sufficient argument, proof. Of course, some ulama disagree, but we just mention as much as in the book. The second ayah is Ayatul Nafr. This ayah is very famous, especially for talabah, because this is one of the ayat for learning. Yes? For taqreed also, but also for learning. Pardon? Ayatul Nafr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَّةً. Believers cannot all migrate for learning. Yeah? We cannot ask all believers to go and study. But why from every group some would not go? As wajib kifai. فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ مِنْهُمْ طَائِفَةٌ. If they cannot all go, which is acceptable, they cannot all go, but why from every group some don't go to, this was about time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Initially, of course, it's a general rule. The idea was that people from different places should go and learn in Medina from Prophet. They learn Islam and then they go back to their people and teach them. It's not that everyone had to go to Medina, but at least some representatives from every community, every tribe, every city and village, they should go and learn. And then لِيُنذِرُوا قَوْمَهُمْ لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ. They learn properly and then they teach their people. But instead of teaching, it says لِيُنذِرُوا, to warn their people. Means to teach them about wajib, haram, all these things, so that they know what they should do, what they shouldn't do. In that, yeah. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَحْذَرُونَ. So that maybe their people back home, after they listen to these warnings, they would avoid doing bad things. Okay? يَحْذَرُونَ. They would have fear and they would not do bad things. Okay, how they have argued from this ayah? تشير الآية إلى السيرة المستمرة بين العقلاء. This ayah refers to a continuous habit and conduct among uqala, rational people. And that is to divide the task. Uqala, don't all of them do everything. If you see Sometimes some people do everything. Uqala, they try to divide the task. Okay? Some tasks, of course, are for everyone, but most of the social tasks, we have to divide. One becomes alim, one becomes doctor, one becomes engineer, one becomes driver, one becomes, postman. We need different jobs. Okay? So, this is siraya mustamirra. This is a continuous habit among uqala. من تقسيم العمل بين الأفراد. They divide action, means task, between people. إذ لولا ذلك لاختلنا النظام. If they don't distribute the task, system, means social system, social life, would become in problem. Means اختلال, means collapse or corrupt, become corrupted. Okay, there will be disorder.
Inefficient as well.
Pardon?
Inefficiency as well.
Yes, more than inefficient. It means there would be no order and لا تشذ عن ذلك مسألة الإنذار والتعليم والتعلم. There is a good translation for this sentence in English. لا تشذ عن ذلك. How do you translate? If you want to translate literally, it means warning and teaching and learning would not deviate from this. But there's a good translation. You say these are not exceptions. Yeah? Warning and teaching and learning are not exceptions. It means they also follow the same rule. That in warning and teaching and learning also we need to divide tasks. After certain level. Up to certain level, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. But when it comes a matter of speciality, then we don't expect everyone to become a theologian or mufassir or philosopher. After a certain level, it becomes a matter of expertise. فلا يمكن أن ينفر المؤمنون كافة لتحصيل أحكام الشريعة. It's not possible that all the believers travel to learn religious rulings. ولكن لماذا لا ينفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة? Why? From every group, some of them would not travel to learn لتعلم الشريعة عند النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Do not travel to learn from the Prophet in Medina. حتى ينذروا قومهم عند الرجوع إليهم, so that they warn their people when they return. وجه الاستدلال. Okay, this is the beginning. How they argue now. So far we didn't say anything about Khabar Wahid. So far, we talked about the necessity of some of mu'mineen from every community, every tribe, to travel to Medina to learn from the Prophet. How we use this for Khabar Wahid. This is the point. They say, okay, if these people go and learn properly and go back to their home and start teaching people, and people say Khabar al-Wahid is not Hujjah. He says, Prophet said this, they say we don't accept you. Then what's the point? It becomes useless. So, this is the way they argue. They say this ayah can only function if people trust these people. If people don't accept what they say and say it must be mutawatir till we accept, then it doesn't work. Okay? So, wajhul istidlal. This is the way argument is made by those who say Khabar al-Wahid is hujjah based on the ayah. أنه سبحانه أوجب الحذر على القوم عند رجوع الطائفة التي تعلمت الشريعة وإنذارهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling to people that you must fear from disobeying God and disregarding these teachings when these people learn and come and warn you. And this means practically they should have fear and they should act upon what these people say. Okay, this can be by mutawatir inzar, like for example 50 people go to Medina and 50 people say Rasulullah said this, for example, say 50 is enough for mutawatir. But sometimes it can be one person, two people. لو كان التواتر أو وصول العلم شرطا في الإنذار. If it was necessary that there must be tawatur or some evidence that makes them certain that this is what Rasulullah said, Allah should have mentioned. لينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون إذا كان هناك تواتر or إذا كانوا مطمئنين متأكدين متيقنين. But ayah is mutlaq, doesn't mention any condition. إطلاقها means إطلاق الآية يقتضي حجية قول المنذر, means the opinion of Mundhir, the warner, is enough. It can be a group warning, it can be one person warning, it can lead to certainty and knowledge, it can lead not to certainty and knowledge. It is hujjah. Ayatollah Subhani doesn't accept this argument. Yes, some accept, but he doesn't accept. He says, if we were saying that people should totally disregard what these people tell them, then it was wrong. There was no point in going when people are asked to disregard, to ignore. But he says this ayah is not intending to say something about the conditions of report. You remember we said مقام بيان. He said متكون المتكلم في مقام البيان. You remember like كلوا مما أمسكنا حلالا طيبا, about dogs which are trained. We said the ayah is about halal with respect to hunting, not with respect to tahara and najasa. Okay, maqamul bayan. Here the ayah is not trying to say what are the conditions for accepting what these people say. Ayah is making a general principle that we need people to go and learn and teach other people. How they can teach, what do learners require, that's another issue. We should learn that from other sources. Okay? Yes, there must be a way to benefit from. If we say it's totally useless, yes, but we don't say totally useless, but also we don't say that any person who returns and says something is hujjah. Okay? So ayah, according to Ayatollah Subhani, is silent with respect to this part, whether it must be one person or two people or 10 people, whether you should become certain from what they say or you don't need to become certain. Ayah is not talking about these aspects. Yes.
So if a person goes and does study, tafaqquh fi din, and he comes back to his people and he teaches them, can you apply the same in ja'akum fasiq fatabayyanu? Can we say that if this person has gone to study and has come back and is teaching me something, should we still do fatabayyanu?
If he's fasiq, yes.
So then mafhum al-shart has validity.
Yeah. About fasiq, we have to tabayyun. This is not mafhum. But the question is about non-fasiq, we accept or not? Because some people may say, for fasiq, you have to do tabayyun. Definitely.
Yeah.
For non-fasiq also, you have to do tabayyun. But for fasiq, more. So it's a kind of emphasis. Yes.
In the life of the Holy Prophet, he used to send muballigh. Like one person, for example, Musab ibn Umair, he was sent to one of the tribe.
Mhm.
And he was like one person who was giving all the
Okay,
holy-
so that's question of hadith. Let's go to hadith.
Okay.
Now we are talking about ayah. The third ayah, ayatul kitman, the verse about hiding your knowledge, hiding your testimony. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Baqarah, verse 159, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَكْتُمُونَ مَا أَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالْهُدَى مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا بَيَّنَّاهُ لِلنَّاسِ فِي الْكِتَابِ أُولَٰئِكَ يَلْعَنُهُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَلْعَنُهُمُ اللَّاعِنُونَ. This ayah is like ayatul nafr. Allah says those people who hide what we have sent down to them from clear signs and guidance. So, blaming people who hide knowledge. Some people have said this means that if they don't hide the knowledge, people should accept. But if they don't hide knowledge and people say still we don't accept because khabar wahid is not hujjah, so what is the point? Okay, it's similar to ayatul nafr. It's similar to what we have about, for example, women. If a woman is pregnant and, for example, now is going to be divorced, she should say that I am pregnant. She should not hide. Okay? Okay. But if she says and no one accepts, what's the point? So when she says I am pregnant, they should accept that she says what she says. So the istidlal, the argument is like this. When hiding the knowledge that you have, the testimony, when hiding is criticized, it means that when it is mentioned, it should be taken into account. Even if it is said by one person. Ayatollah Subhani says the same thing that he said before about Ayatul Nafr. He said, yes, people should express what they know. They should not hide the testimony. But then the ayah doesn't say we should accept it without condition or there are conditions for accepting. That's another issue. Ayah is silent about that. Okay? So if you become confident, you become certain, you act upon it. If not, you inquire more. So again, he wants to say ayah is not talking about this side. It's not fi maqam bayan al-shurut. Ayah is not talking about the conditions. It's a general thing.
So it seems Shaykh Ja'far Subhani doesn't believe in Hujjiyah Khabar Wahid.
He doesn't believe based on these verses, but he believes based on hadith.
From Hadith.
Ayatul Su'al. The next ayah is famous ayah. I don't read all the text because it's lengthy here, and I think it takes a few sessions. So explaining is clear. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ إِلَّا رِجَالًا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِمْ. We have not sent before you except men that we revealed to them. Means before you there were other messengers. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. This ayah initially refers to the Ahlul Dhikr, means the people of the book. People of the knowledge, means people of the book. But of course, it can also mean other people. For example, we have hadith from Imam Razad that نحن أهل الذكر, for example. الذكر رسول الله نحن أهل الذكر. Okay, so it can be applied to different people. But the question is this. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ. Ask people who have knowledge. If you don't know, in kuntum la ta'lam. Okay, if we ask them, and they reply, and then we don't accept because khabar al-wahid is not hujjah. What's the point? فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ means there must be validity in what they say. The same thing that we said about Ayatul Naf and Ayatul Kitman. Ayatollah Subhani again says, no. Ayah is not talking about conditions. It's a general thing that people should ask those who know. But whatever they say you should accept, or when you are convinced, for example, you accept. You know? So he says Ayah does not explain this. So 4 verses of the Quran, Ayatul Naba, Ayatul Nafr, Ayatul Kitman, Ayatul Su'al, are argued, but he does not accept any of them. We go to the hadith. There are different sets of hadith, not only different hadith, different sets of hadith, different groups of hadith that have been mentioned to support Hujjiyatul Khabar al-Wahid. For example, Shaykh al-Ansari rahimahullah, in his book Fara'id, which is known as Rasail. Rasail is the name which is very famous, but its real name is Fara'idul Usul. Right. In his Fara'idul Usul, he mentions 5 groups of hadith, 5 sets. Each of them can have many examples. Okay? Ayatollah Subhani says we mention some of those hadiths which are very famous. There are hadiths from Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam in which they have referred their followers, their Shia, to companions who were reliable, even as individuals. If Khabar Wahid was not Hujjah, Imams would not have asked Shia to refer to these individuals. For example, even something that he says which is important, he says, sometimes a person asks, for example, also that, can I follow this person? And Imam says yes. Or Imam says, refer to this person, initially. This means that this question was not in the mind of people. The question was not whether we can follow someone who is Siqa or not. The question was whether they are Siqa or not. It was something which was clear, mafrughun an, means was for granted, take it for granted that it is possible. Okay? The main thing was masadiq, which people can be followed. The principle, the kubra, was not a problem, that if there is a siqa, reliable person, you follow. Who was siqa? That was the question. For example, Shaykh Saduq rahmatullah alayh narrates from Aban ibn Uthman, Anna Abu Abdullah. Have you found? Page 186, line 5. 186, line 5. Did you find it?
I have a different book.
Okay.
It's on page 194.
Rabba as-Saduq and Aban ibn Uthman, Anna Abu Abdullah alayhi salam qala lahu. Saduq narrates from Aban ibn Uthman that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said about Aban ibn Taghlib, not about Aban ibn Uthman. Narrator is not talking about himself. It's about another Aban ibn Taghlib. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, Inna Aban ibn Taghlib qad raba anni riwayatin kathira. Aban ibn Taghlib has narrated many hadiths from me. فَمَا رَوَاهُ لَكَ فَارْوِهِ عَنِّي. Whatever he narrates for you, narrate from me. What does it mean? He is authentic, he is reliable, he is valid, and even more. I think it means even more.
It's a guarantee from Masoom.
I think it means something. Not only he says accept, Imam doesn't say whatever he narrates from me, accept. He says whatever he narrates from me, you can narrate from me. Means as if you have heard from me. This is maximum trust. You know, sometimes I say whatever hadith he says, it's okay. But then you have to narrate from him, not from me. You should say, I heard from Aban, and Aban said, I heard from Imam Sadiq. But Imam Sadiq has so much trust in Aban ibn Taghlib that he says, whatever he narrates from me, narrate from me. You know, this is a very important point. This man was very reliable man. And Abi Basir قال إن أبا عبد الله عليه السلام قال له في حديث. Abu Basir says Imam Sadiq عليه السلام told لولا زرارة ونذراؤه. Had it not been because of Zurare and people like Zurare, لظننت أن أحاديث أبي ستذهب. I would have thought that hadith of my father would have been lost. This shows the significance of the work of Zurara and people like Zurara. Imam Baqir alayhi salam, okay, is the one that we have received many hadiths from him. We are very much in debt to what we have received from Imam Baqir. But if Zurara was not there, and Imam Baqir was there, but Zurara was not there, we would not have received them. So this shows the high position of these people, that they acted as channel, as instruments for passing on and preservation of the teachings of Imam. May Allah inshallah elevate their position. They have already very high position. When Imam Ma'asum says that if these people were not there, hadith of my father were lost. Yunus ibn Ammar says from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, أما ما رواه زرار عن أبي جعفر فلا يجوز لك أن ترده. What Zurar narrates from Imam Baqir, my father, you don't have permission to reject. It's not permissible to reject. How many hadiths Zurara has narrated from Imam Baqir? Many hadiths. Pardon? Yunus ibn Ammar. It means that this man was so accurate first and so truthful that Imam wholeheartedly and completely endorses his hadith. It's very important. And this is a lesson for us that we should be that much trustworthy and reliable. You know, when Imam Ma'asum puts his trust on someone, that's important. Ordinary people may put trust on someone and they don't know. But when Imam puts, you know, if Imam Zaman, for example, today puts his trust on someone, that's important. Mufazzal ibn Umar also says from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that Imam Sadiq told al-Faith ibn al-Mukhtar, إِذَا أَرَدْتَ حَدِيثَنَا, whenever you want our hadith, means you want to learn our hadith, فَعَلَيْكَ بِهَذَا الْجَالِسِ, you should go to this person who is sitting here. And he was pointing at someone. He says, I asked, who is this person? فَقَالُوا زُرَارَةَ بْنَ أَعْيُنٍ. So when you want our hadith, refer to this man. Qasim ibn Ali, this Ali is not Amir al-Mu'minin, his father was Ali. He mentions a writing a message from Imam Zaman in writing, Tawqi, in which Imam said, لا عذر لأحد من موالين تشكيك فيما يرويه عنا ثقاتنا. For our Shia is not allowed, it's not permissible to doubt what those who are trustworthy and reliable narrate from us. Because if you question what these people narrate, then in the end, all the teaching of Ahlul Bayt are questioned. And it's easy for people who want to run away from mas'uliyah and responsibility to say, I am not sure. Zurare said, I didn't hear from Imam Sadiq, Zurare said this. Okay, you cannot question Zurare. إلى غير ذلك من الأحاديث التي تورث اليقين بأن حجية قول الثقة كان أمرا مفروغا منه بينهم. And there are many other hadiths that lead to certainty. They lead to certainty that the acceptability of the narration from Imam by a person who is reliable, who is thiqah, was something without any need for investigation. This was taken for granted, means it was, out of question. Mafrughan an means out of question. لو كان هناك كلام, if there was any question, was about whether this person is reliable or not. Whether he's siqah or not. Not that whether the view of siqah is hujjah or not. And he says, if you investigate and istiqra means induction, but here means, examine all the cases. That Shaykh Hurra Amili, rahmahullah, Shaykh Hurra Amili, in Wasa'il al-Shi'a, about judge and other sections, you find that companions of Imam were in agreement about the validity of the hadith that a person who is reliable narrates. You sense that this was obvious for them. And he says, these hadiths in their zahir, in their apparent meaning, suggest حجية قول الثقة. If مخبر is ثقة, خبره is حجة. Okay? If he's not ثقة, the خبر is not حجة. So حجية قول الثقة.
So it depends on the mukhbir.
Yes.
If he is thiqa or غير thiqa.
Yes. And if mukhbar is not ثقة, we don't accept a ثقة, even if, for example, there are issues about, for example, that some evidence. Unless you become sure, of course. If you become sure, even if the mukhbar is not ثقة, you would accept. But if you are not sure, validity of hadith is depending on ثقة, reliability of the narrator. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.